As always, when we jump into a new lesson sequence, we want to read through the actual lesson sequence and annotate it. And as we annotate, we want to think about certain questions. So I'll share my screen and we'll remind ourselves the questions we need to be thinking about as we work through the reading of the lesson sequence. So here they are. We're thinking through this lesson sequence with two hats or through two lenses. We're thinking about our implementation as teachers, and then how we're thinking about our students. How will this resource be received as a learner? And we have our same questions here. Which portions of the lesson sequence would you like to see your thinking partner model for you in professional development, or even come into your classroom and model with the students or co-teach with you possibly? Which portions of the lesson sequence will your students need more or less time to complete? Where will the students need additional support? How might you provide that? And where do you see the state learning standards? Insert the standards number into your Google Doc. That helps when you're writing your lesson plans. You have that number handy. So let's look at the lesson sequence now that we have our questions. And this resource has a very long title: Using Writing into the Day as Routine Argument Writing and Formative Assessment. So a lot of times teachers will ask, when I'm walking around and students are writing in notebooks and I'm looking to see which skills they're taking up, what do I do if I notice that they might be struggling? They might be maybe just at a developing level of a skill. What can I do right then to help make them more competent, to get to a competent level of the skill? And so this resource really addresses that. So we'll look at it here. So again, read through it with your thinking about your annotations. And there are reflection questions over here for you to answer, to type your answers to. And remember, you'll upload this in Canvas in the discussion module. And the big takeaway here before I leave this screen, I want you to understand that we're using writing into the day as routine argument writing, but you're also using it as routine formative assessment. Okay, so let me scroll down, and you'll scroll down, you'll answer these questions, and of course your students will do these in writer's notebooks. There are some slide decks for skills, and then a formative assessment note-taking sheet, and there's a menu. So let's open this menu, and you'll see that there are lots of choices here for you, just like a menu. If you're ordering from a menu, there are lots of different choices. So here we have the topics: should we retire the penny? Should restaurants ban kids? Toddlers and technology, libraries, museums, Native American mascots, and so on. And here, this tells you what types of text you have. So in this text set, you have 4 print excerpts and an optional video. In this one, 4 print excerpts, an optional video. 4 print excerpts, 2 optional videos, 4 podcast clips. So you can see how that goes. So a variety of text types. And depending on the text types and the number of texts you choose. So for example, this one, 2 to 4 days of reading, 1 day of drafting. So let's open this, should we retire the penny? And remember this, 2 to 4 days of reading and 1 day of drafting. And you can see how we arrived at that time frame. So let's open this. And should the penny be retired? That's the issue. So students read the text discussed with a partner, highlight the author's main claim, put a star by the strongest piece of evidence, and then write their thoughts in the I say box. So this uses one of the 7 foundational practices of C3WP, which is they say, I say. So here we have our experts. Here's their names and credentials, what they're saying. Students put, they highlight the main claim. If you don't want them to use highlighters, they can underline it and then put a star by the strongest piece of evidence and then respond. So the reason that the time frame was 2 to 4 days is because some teachers say, well, I'd rather my students do these two one day. It doesn't take very long. And then these two the next day. And then let's say you do this on Monday, Tuesday, or this on Monday, and this on Tuesday, and then you would draft your argument, your own argument. So now that you know what the issue is, you know what they say, the experts say, you've written what you say to them, and then you're ready to draft your argument. And then here's a note-taking guide for the video. So students can revisit after they watch the video and did their claim change, and they can add new evidence into their argument. So after students have drafted this argument, then you as the teacher, you have that for a really quick formative assessment. So this section at the bottom of the resource helps you notice and name student argument writing behaviors. So what are the students trying on? What about their claims? Do you need to nudge them a little bit in their thinking? Or in other words, do they need a mini lesson on that? Is it signal phrases? So you're looking for trends and patterns across the class. And the thing that most of the students need most, the thing that seems to be their most pressing need, you'll get a feel for that. Here are the argument writing skills. So claims, signal phrases, authorizing, commentary, illustrating, countering. So let's say the students need help with signal phrases. You've sort of taken the pulse of the class, you've been walking around as they write, and you say to yourself, signal phrases. So you can either write then, like immediately on the same day that they draft, or the next day. It's up to you, but pretty quickly after they've drafted, you can pull up this slide deck if you would like and teach a mini lesson on signal phrases. You can say something like, okay, group, your signal phrases are looking really, really good. A lot of you are trying those on. Everybody get out your notebook where you drafted, and here are some sample frames. Find a place in your writing where you could add some of these. So a place where you quoted one of the experts, try out according to. Where you're giving some examples of evidence, try out for instance. If you are agreeing with, if you're doing like some yes but thinking, then you can say however, even so. And then here's some additional resources. Click on these and you get lots more signal phrase sentence frames. So that's an example of how this resource, and really take as long as you need to explore this. We think we've given you enough text and topics to last for quite a while. You always supplement those, but remember with routine argument and writing into the day, that's something that goes all year. It's not something you do for a little while and then you stop and never do that again. So the idea here is it's ongoing, and you're taking the pulse of the class. You're doing formative assessment, and you can just immediately or very quickly, soon after the writing, that day or the next, say, let's try out some of these commentary stems. Let's try out some of these signal phrases. Find a place in your writing where you could insert some of these to bump up the quality of your writing. So annotate this, and then on the next page, you'll be asked to attach your annotated lesson sequence to a discussion that you'll start.